Hello and welcome back everyone, this is a Spiritual Seeker with another pick a card reading. I do just want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed and liked my videos. Today we're going to be doing a pick a card reading on childhood. So what are you still carrying from childhood, whether you're consciously or unconsciously aware of it? What are you still holding on to? How is it still affecting you today? You might not even know that you're still holding on to these things. I just want to apologise if you do hear any other background noises. My neighbours are quite loud and noisy, so there's nothing much I can really do. They are just a bit inconsiderate sometimes, so I am sorry. And yeah, we're going to go ahead with the reading. Remember that this is a generalised reading, so sometimes I do go into specifics. If it's not for you, just leave it. Just take what you can, leave out the rest. As I always say in all of my pick a card readings, if you do want to have something a lot more personal, all the information from my private readings is in the description box. So anyway, let's get started. I'll let you pick from either deck 1, 2 or 3. Right, so we're going to go ahead with the read, and if you chose deck 1, what are you still carrying from your childhood? So we have the Warrior. Put that up there. We have Fragment in reverse. The Moon. We have Moving On in reverse. We also have the Base Chakra in reverse. Cornucopia in reverse. We have a lot of reversals. Blossoming Abundance in reverse. Yin and Yang. This one's upright. And we also have the Thinking Man. So just make sure that you can see this. I'm really sorry about the lighting, by the way. I only like to use natural lighting, and just the way I've positioned it today, it's just not doing any favours for the reading, but I am sorry. I will go through everything with you. So your childhood, I mean, with the Moon card, the first thing I'm getting is that there could have been a lot of struggles. I don't know if you can see that, sorry. There could have been a lot of struggles with lies and deceit, because we've got Moon energy coming in here now. So possibly a lot of confusions. We have got 5. 5 is about struggle. Struggling to get the truth is what I'm getting. A lot of lies, a lot of deceits, maybe possibly even dark fears, feeling left in the dark about situations. All right, you might not have always had an honest childhood with your parents, or just you might have just lived with one parent. They could have covered up a lot of things, and this wasn't beneficial to you because you knew the truth. All right, a lot of subconscious fears here. You already knew deep down that the things that they were saying might not have always been truthful, but you felt like you had to, pacify them anyway. You had to, just pretend like you knew nothing was wrong, but deep down you might have known that things were wrong, that you were left in the dark. This possibly left you confused, and this is why it was a struggle coming through with the number 5. I'm also getting with the Warrior card. You could have been a firstborn. You could have been the eldest child if you had siblings, or an only child. You also could have been second born with the number 2 coming through. But what I'm getting is, there was a lot of pressure to be the best, okay? A lot of pressure to do well. If you were a second born, you might have always felt like you were competing with your other siblings. If you were just an only child, for a lot of you, I'm getting that you were a firstborn or the eldest, so you had to set an example. But for some of you, you could have been the second, and that competition was still there. Always feeling like you have to compete. But if you were just an only child and you don't have siblings and you can't relate to that, there was a pressure to perform. You had to be the warrior. You had to take the lead. You had to be the best. You had to do the best at everything. You always had to get good grades. You always had to, live up to that high expectation. Because we've got the Thinking Man here. Okay, now this can be a male or female, but I am reading this as male energy. So you possibly could have had a father who was a very influential person, or a leader, because we've got 4 + 6 = 10. 10 when broken down is the number 1. Okay, 1 is about leadership, authority. Someone who's rational, logical, practical, has to do things a certain way. Someone who's very traditional and set in their ways even, and someone who focuses a lot on the root chakra, which is interesting, because we also got this card here, the Base Chakra in reverse, again 1. So this is how it's affecting you now, because this chakra is reversed. But in your childhood, you might have had a parent or someone who looked after you, who was very, egotistical, focused on the material world, very in the 3D reality, went on survival instincts, didn't really give, there was very logical and practical and down to earth, but it came from a place of ego, okay? So living up to the family name as this warrior, okay? If they were a doctor or a lawyer, then you felt like you had to be up to that expectation of being a doctor or a lawyer, okay? Following in their footsteps, because they felt that they was the leader, okay? Red energy is very authoritative energy. It can even, be fire energy. I can read it as like Leo energy, or any other fire sign, really. Someone who was a bit fiery, they probably were passionate about this, but it came from the wrong place is what I'm getting, okay? It didn't come from the heart, it came from their needs and their selfishness. Possibly they wanted you to just live in their shadow, and this really affected you because now you live with your base chakra. Well, we've got it in reverse. So now as you've grown older, you might really not like material things. You really might have hated this about this parent, that they didn't really, consider emotions or what you wanted to do or what you thought. And you felt very stuck in this situation because we've got the moving on card in reverse, and we've also got the number 6. I don't know if you can see it, the number 6 there. So 6 is about family, so you really struggle to move on from the family home, okay? You really wanted to leave that dark past behind you and step into the light, step into nature, really heal your heart chakra because you felt like this might have been neglected as a child, but you struggle to move on. And now as an adult, you really find it hard to get abundance, possibly in finances or jobs, because you always felt like you had to follow this shadow and be a certain way. And now that you are free, if you've left this family home, you might really struggle because you don't have that leadership role there anymore. You don't have that leader authority figure, and as free and as that is, now you're really struggling, because you might just really not like material things. You don't like egotistical people, you don't like selfish people, you don't like people who think that they're better than anyone else. You just want a nice job where you feel free and happy and you're doing what you want to do, but you might really struggle getting abundance because it's almost like you've shut off this chakra because you experienced it, the bad side of it in childhood, and now you see anyone like this and you're like, no, I can't follow them, I don't want to be like that. You might have trouble being around authoritative people. You might even feel intimidated in the workplace because it just reminds you of this thinking man. Okay, now it could have been a mother, as I've said, but a lot of masculine energy might intimidate you because it just reminds you of being stifled back in childhood. I just keep hearing living up to the family name. So yeah, I'm just really struggling with work and finances now as an adult, because either you don't have that figure there anymore, or because you feel like you've never really moved on properly from this and now you're intimidated by it as an adult. Because we've also got, I'll just put those back, we've also got Blossoming Abundance and Cornucopia in reverse. So these are all abundance cards, okay? The Cornucopia card is about fruits, the fruits of labour. Excuse me. It's all about the fruits of labour. It's all about, getting material and spiritual abundance. It's all about blossoming abundance. It even says that on the card, greenery, healing, nature. So you're really struggling to get blossoming abundance. You're really struggling to get balance, okay? Because 1 + 1 = 2. 2 is about balance. You feel out of balance somewhere, and abundance is a struggle because we've got the number 3 coming through at the top of the card. 3 is about struggle. Just really struggling to find your niche, struggling where how are you going to fit in, how are you going to make your fruits ripen, because you don't want this thinking man to say, oh well, I told you so, you should have done things my way. You might have gone off, even though it was a struggle, and moved on from the family home to try and find balance with the yin and the yang. We've also got more 2s on this card, and 2 + 2 = 4, so stability. So you might have tried to gone off and found your own financial stability your own way, and you're struggling to find that balance, and you're really trying. You're in your warrior mode. You're really trying to get into that energy, but you don't want this thinking man, this person, to turn around to you and be like, I told you so, you should have done things my way, you should have listened when I said those things to you that came from ego. And you didn't really like that because you were like, well, you were sneaky, you were deceptive, you might have lied, you confused me, you actually made it worse. and now now I'm feeling stifled and I can't get the balance. I'm struggling to get abundance, and I'm you know, it could also mean that because your parents or your parent, whoever you grew up with, was so focused on this chakra, and they might have even had financial fears. Okay, they might have been so focused on the material and had fears about not making it that they actually created, they manifested no abundance, and you ended up being actually quite poor off. Like, you didn't end up well off. Like, for a lot of you, this person might have been well off. They might have been in a very high profession, but they might have feared it so much. Or you might be doing this now. You might fear this so much because of what sort of childhood you have, that now you reject the possibility of your own abundance and your own, ripening fruits, because you experienced this as a child and this scared you and confused you and you didn't like it. It left you in the dark. It wasn't, it was a struggle for you. We got 5s. It was a real struggle. Some part of you rejected this. And now you're struggling to get your own abundance and your own ripening fruits, whether that's spiritually or materially. It could be that you like to spend a lot of time in nature. We've got so much greens, fruits, trees, plants, insects. You might also like gardening, I'm getting, for some of you. Or like being out in nature, and you struggle to do that because you might have ended up in this career that is egotistical in corporate, and you really actually want to do something like this, and this is not fulfilling to you. We've also got a lot of green, so heart chakra energy, really needing it to heal and heal the heart, heal emotions, finding healing in nature, possibly water for some of you. You might have really liked like water sports and like rivers. I'm hearing, like being at the riverside. You might have lived near water and you might have liked to escape there. That's where you found your balance, but you couldn't get abundance from that, and you might have had to go in corporate. So yeah, that's what I'm really getting. And also we have the fragment card in reverse. We do have 1 + 5 = 6. I don't know if you can see it on the card. 1 + 5 = 6. So 6 is about family, so feeling fragmented in the family home. You are coming out of this though now, because it is in reversed. Alright, but the fragment card is all about like fragments of the soul. So the soul splitting off, the soul going through trauma. Okay, something traumatized you. It could have been, like I said, with the finances, and your parents being so afraid of finances that they actually manifested bad financial situations. Or it could be that they were so, deeply obsessed with finances that they didn't take into consideration your feelings and what you wanted to do, and this really fragmented you as a person, because it confused you as to what you actually wanted to do, and it made it a struggle for you. And now you're trying to seek out that balance, back to the yin and yang. Find a good balance between the financial and the spiritual, because there is some aspects of you that need healing, because we do have these in reverse. So go out in nature, okay? Go back to doing what you love, okay? Even as hard as this is, okay, you are a warrior. You are strong enough to go through with this. You will find the balance again, because we have got a number 2 coming through. Okay, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are, strong enough to handle it, which is again why I'm also getting Leo energy or fire energy. I'm also getting the image of the lion. That's why I'm saying Leo. So yeah, a part of your soul just really got fragmented by this, and you are trying to heal this. You are trying to go back out into nature, but this might be unsettling for your finances. You might have always struggled in career because you're always doing what is expected of you rather than what you always actually genuinely like and love. And you found it hard to move on from that image because it was so deeply ingrained, is what I'm getting. I'm being told, like, it was so deep rooted. And also the moon is about deep-rooted fears, subconscious fears. So again, coming back to this card about struggle, lies, deceit, being confused, not being sure what to do, which path do I take, because I don't want to let my family down, but at the end of the day I want to do something I like. And now I'm struggling in this chakra, and I'm intimidated by other people because I had this way too much as a child when it was upright with this leader authority. You possibly might have had a dad or a mother, or whoever it is that you lived with. It doesn't necessarily have to be a dad or a mother. It can be grandparent, aunties, uncles, all that. You might have had someone in the family who who was very physical, because this is a physical 3D card, so there could have been some physical abuse. Now I'm not saying it might not have been extreme, but it still might have been enough there to traumatize you and fragment your soul. Okay, and I'm not saying that no abuse, any abuse is acceptable, and in small amounts of abuse it's okay, it's not okay, but there might have been some abuse in the physical, because this is a physical card. Okay, it's all about the 3D and the physical world, so physical abuse would also go hand in hand with that for some of you. Hitting, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, okay, not being able to do the things that you wanted, which caused an imbalance, and because you're always living up to the family name, as I kept getting, feeling that you're not good enough and that you need to be a certain way and act a certain way, so you're not actually a blossoming for yourself, you're blossoming in the name of someone else. So make sure that you're doing things for you, that you're spending time with nature, that you can move on from this and heal this. Okay, you are a warrior and you can get through it, but make sure you know all the facts as well, because if it is a card of confusion and struggle, make sure you know all the truths, okay, because there could be some hidden lies in there. Yeah, so just be careful with that. And that's your reading if you picked deck 1. So if you picked deck 2, what are you still holding on from childhood? We have woman holding a heart. We have wisdom. We have recognition and reward in reverse. We have mental conflict. We have obedience. Forbidden in reverse. I don't know if you can see that. Like I said with deck 1, I am sorry about the lighting. Grove in reversed. This is really dark, isn't it? I'm so sorry. It does say Grove. We also have High Priestess of Air in reversed. And self-worth. So what I'm getting for you, if you pick deck 2 straight away, I'm going to try and move so you can see better. There we go, that's better. You were a little bit of a rebel, weren't you? I mean, we have forbidden in reversed along with obedience, okay, so some of you, you were the type of people or the type of kids that would sneak out in the middle of the night. That's what I'm getting. You say that you were going to a friend's house and really you weren't. You were getting, drunk in a field or out with your friends. You always had to lie and cover up where you actually were. Okay, you might have had a very strict upbringing. Okay, you might have had a lot of rules to follow and you had to follow these rules blindly. So they might have been like rules for rule's sake. So you might have had curfews at like 9 p.m. but there was no real reason to have the curfew. Like you might have been like 16, 17 years old and you always had to explain where you were or what you were doing, and being blinded by the rules. It's almost like you just not like you didn't care, but you just did them anyway because you didn't see the point. You might have always been like, well, why do I have to be in so early? And they'd be like, well, because I said so. And you'd be like, well, I don't really see the logic and the reason behind that, so I'm just going to go out and do it anyway because that is not forbidden. And you went out on your own because we've got 1 + 8 = 9. 9's about solitude. So you went out on your own and did it anyway, is what I'm getting. So, yeah, you were a little firecracker. Like, if you couldn't do something, you were like, I'll be damned if I don't. I'm definitely going to do that anyway because I do not care. And it's not that you didn't care. There was some parts of your childhood that were really tough for you, okay? You weren't allowed to be free in your own family home because we've got an air card, the High Priestess of Air with the number 6. Okay, 6 is about family. I don't know if you can actually see the number 6 on there. Air signs are always about communication, being free. Just in general, you could be an air sign, or you could have had someone in your house that was an air sign. It's likely that you had air sign traits or some air in your chart because you wanted to be free, you wanted to explore, you wanted to travel, you wanted to go out, you wanted to do things, you had a quick mind, a quick wit, possibly sarcastic, a bit rebellious, okay, quick with your tongue, that possibly got you into a lot of trouble, and you couldn't really express this in the family home, okay, because we've got mental conflict, and you know, this pairs really well with this card because, you know, it's got a blue border, and you know, in this deck, the blue border means the throat chakra, so it's all about speaking and communication. So you might not have been allowed to say the things that you wanted to say, you might not have been allowed to express yourself. We've got two, so maybe there was some imbalance with you know, expression and not being able to speak your truth, because air is about communication as well. So there's some form of being suffocated here, okay, not being able to fly, not being able to be free, not being able to be open is also what I'm getting. It could be to do with emotions as well, but just in general, like, you always had to monitor what you say or censored what you said, okay, and it caused a lot of mental conflict with you because you couldn't really express these things and you just wanted to go out and do them, but you kind of had to hide them anyway, and it might have confused you in childhood, okay, because we've got the woman holding a heart card, so 4 + 4 = 8. 8 is a family number just like number 6 is, so you could have had a mother or a father figure. This is feminine energy card, but it could have been a mother, but you know, it doesn't have to be, it's non-gender specific, but there could have been a parent that you had, or whoever was looking after you, whoever you lived with, that might have been quite emotional, you know, might have been quite genuine, honest, might have wore the heart on the sleeve, as I read this card, you know, holding a heart out, but at the same time, they might have confused you because at the same time, you couldn't say what you wanted to say, or, you know, expressed how you felt or thought. So you might have been like, how can someone so loving and caring, and it might have been an act that they put on in front of other people, they acted really loving and genuine and caring in front of other people, but when it was just the two of you alone, it caused mental conflict because you weren't allowed to express your truth. You might have had a lot of arguments, and then you got to the point where you were like, what's even the point anymore, I'm just going to go out and do it anyway and not tell them. So yeah, it might have confused you because you might have been like, hold on, how can you be so nice and so motherly and so genuine and so forgiving and caring and loving, and yet I can't even express my own truth and how I feel, but you know, you wear your heart on your sleeve, you tell me what you think and how you feel as a parent, but I can't tell you how I feel. It might have been, you might have felt it was a bit unjust or a bit unfair, okay, and you learnt lessons, you learnt wisdom, but you learnt it through struggle and the hard way. You learnt lessons the hard way because we've got 5's about struggle, so learning wisdom through struggle is what I'm getting. Possibly having to go off on your own or learning things by yourself because you wasn't getting it from the family home. Yeah, so as an adult, you are really wise, okay, but your wisdom comes through struggling experiences, okay, possibly because you didn't obey the authority that was there, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, okay, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't always have to obey the rules, okay, I'm not saying that you should you know, completely disrespect the law and disregard everyone's feelings and, you know, disrespect people. But if you felt like you were doing things and you didn't want to do them, then, you know, that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying that you're a bad person for being rebellious. I mean, I think everyone gets to that point where they do become rebellious because they don't see the logic or the reason anymore. And, you know, getting into finances could have been a struggle for you because we've got the number 3 in reverse. So going off on your own, I mean, the person on the card is on their own, really struggling with recognition and reward. Okay, nothing was ever good enough. You always felt isolated on your own. It could have been a third party, okay? You could have lived with one parent and then that parent that you had, let's say it was a mother, that mother got, you know, a new boyfriend or a new husband or, you know, someone new, and this third person was just a nightmare for you, I'm getting for some of you. And, you know, this really affected your self-worth because we've got, again, another 5. 3 + 2 = struggle. 3 + 2 = 5, which is struggle. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead there. Yeah. Nothing was ever good enough. They might have been really strict about what you wore, your makeup, if you're a girl, how you acted, how you dressed, how you represented yourself. So you couldn't ever get the recognition and reward that you wanted. Having to hide what you're wearing, I'm getting for a lot of you. Having to, like, sneak out of the house with different clothes in a bag. is what I'm getting. So like you said, you were going out to a friend's, and actually you were going out to a party and you had all of the party stuff in the bag that you was going out in, and then yeah, like that sort of thing is what I'm getting. Just really having to hide who you really are, because you weren't allowed to express that. You weren't allowed to be free. You weren't allowed to talk. You weren't allowed to have your own opinion. And you know, you learned a lot of lessons. You got a lot of wisdom, and you learned a lot about yourself. You learned a lot about the people around you, but it came through struggle and being on your own. You might actually really struggle getting a job or finances now, because we have got recognition and reward on the root chakra card. So it's about physicality, 3D, work, material life. You might have really struggled in that area because of self-worth. You might not feel confident enough to get that job. You might not feel confident enough to work in the 3D world, feeling like you need to be by yourself, okay? Feeling blindfolded and vulnerable, like on the obedience card. You know, she's trying to like cover herself up, so feeling ashamed for who you really are, because you weren't allowed to be who you were as a childhood. So now as an adult, you might think, well, if my own parents or parent couldn't even let me express myself and let me be who I really were, then how can I be like that with anyone else if my own parents didn't even like it and wouldn't let me do it? You might think like that a lot now. I'm also getting, you know, this, you spiraled. I'm hearing the words I spiraled. So you might have spiraled into depression or addiction for a lot of you. Even tattoo addiction, I'm getting. Because, you know, there's a girl there trying to express herself covered in tattoos. And that might be why you're struggling to get a job now, because of the way that you look, your appearance. People saying that you've abused your appearance. You know, digging yourself an early grave. 2 + 1 = 3. 3 struggle. We've got so many 3s and 5s. And we've got grove. Grove is basically, you know, like a grave card, digging yourself an early grave. You know, for some of you, I'm getting that it got that out of control. You got into addiction. So some of you were drugs, some of you alcohol, some of you, this is very specific, but I'm hearing heroin. So some of you took heroin. Okay, that might not resonate with everyone, but that's the word I'm getting, heroin. Some of you got put in the wrong crowds, okay? It changed your appearance a lot. And yeah, again, I'm hearing heroin. So some of you might have actually overdosed on heroin. Obviously, you are still alive today. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this reading. But for some of you, that's when they began to care. That's when this parent cared. And you were like, well, it's already too late. It's already too late, because why do you care now? Now that I've just nearly killed myself. Some of you thought about suicide. Some of you attempted it. Again, that's very specific and a very deep personal message. I'm also getting as well with the self-worth card. I just looked back at this and then got an image in my head, or like that my guides giving me. I really don't want to say it. It's so personal and deep, but some of you were sexually abused. Okay, some of you were sexually abused, okay? It might have been like inappropriate touching or like inappropriate comments about the way that you look. It might have been, you know, we've got a woman here trying to cover her breasts. It might have been like inappropriate comments, and that really damaged your self-worth, because you were like, you know, you're meant to be my family and you're saying these things, like, how could you? So, you know, fuck you, I'm just going to do what I want anyway. You're not letting me be who I really want to be. And someone might have known about this. Oh, sorry, I'm just not on the camera. Someone might have known about this. A woman might have known. And she didn't say anything. Someone in the family might have known, a woman in the family. And you felt betrayed because she was so genuine and kind and caring and considerate. And she didn't do anything or say anything. She just let it happen. And it was a struggle again. That's why we got wisdom. We got 2 5s here. So maybe this self-esteem, you know, gave you lessons, but these lessons were through struggle, and it could have been sexual abuse for a lot of you. For some of you, I'm hearing grandparents. So this was grandparents sexually abusing you. I feel like it was more distant family. It could have been not immediate family, but distant family, but someone in the immediate family knew, or vice versa, and that's why you felt betrayed and like you were digging yourself an early grave. That's where the suicide started for some of you. because it was just so, like, they might have done something that was forbidden to you, something that was forbidden to you that really damaged your self-worth, and you felt alone in this, because we've got 1 + 8 = 9. 9's about solitude. You felt alone in this, even though people knew. And you couldn't express this. You wasn't allowed to talk about it either, as we were saying earlier. And now this confidence affects the way that you perceive the world, the way that you perceive the 3D world. 3 is about struggle, being on their own. The way you perceive the 3D world might be a struggle. Material, finances, physicality. So yeah, some of you were sexually abused. I know I keep saying it, but that's what I keep getting. I'm getting just like an attack on vanity is the words I'm looking for. Like an attack to your vanity. Like an attack on the self. Because this lack of self-worth didn't come from nowhere. It came from something, and it was something very deep-rooted or deep and personal in your childhood, and something to do with a woman or a motherly figure. You know, that's what you're still holding on to. And yeah, you learned a lot of lessons. Okay, you might see the light now, but you know, this was a struggle for you back then, and there is something about it that you're still holding on to. I do feel like it is the confidence that you're really struggling with. Yeah, we just got someone trying to hide themselves from the world, feeling vulnerable, feeling exposed, feeling naked. Yeah, just someone who was derogatory even. But yeah, that's what I'm getting if you did pick pile 2. And you were like, well, why should I follow the rules anyway? You're a hypocrite. Hypocrite is what I'm hearing as well. Hypocrite. And you weren't allowed to express this or be yourself or be in your own little element of air. You weren't allowed that. You were suppressed and made to feel vulnerable. So this doubted who you really were and your sense of self. And you are very wise. Okay, you might be an old soul. Okay, you've had to take the path alone. But you are still struggling with this, or a part of you is still struggling with this. Let's see. I'm not getting anything else. But yeah, some of those messages were very specific. So remember, take what resonates and leave out what doesn't. Because, you know, not everyone who's watching this video will have overdosed or took heroin, got into drugs or been sexually abused. So just remember that there may be specific messages. If it's not those things, that it could be something else. So it could be derogatory comments, okay? It could just be something something like that. But for some of you, it was a lot more serious, like sexual abuse, drug addictions, heroin addictions, just doing anything to escapism, and doing something to get away from the self and feeling vulnerable. Is what I'm getting, okay, guys? So that's what you got if you pick pile 2. So if you picked pile 3, what are you still affected by from your childhood? Let's have a look, guys. So we got hostilities. We've also got 6 + 2 = 8. So hostilities in the family home. Right, interesting. We have indecision. Again, another 8 in the family home. Indecision. 2 8s there next to each other. Action. We've got another 8. 1 + 7 = 8. Family home. We have daughter spirit. This time we've got a number 5. 3 + 2 = 5. Material and spiritual prosperity. Number 6. 6 is about family. We have light reversed. Hope reversed. Again, another 8. 1 + 7 = 8. Prosperity begins in reverse. Trapped in fear. Again, another 8, guys. Another 8. Summon in reverse. We have individuality in reverse. And the last card, we have High Priestess of Spirit in reverse. I'm not sure if you can see all of these. I am really sorry about the lighting. I know I keep saying this like in every deck, but I am sorry. A lot of 8s. So I'm willing I'm willing to put my money that you either see a lot of 8s, you're influenced by 8, or you're a life path number 8. So something in your chart might be indicative of 8. So it could be that you're a life path 8, you're born on the 8th, born on the 8th month, something about the 8 repetitively. You might also see a lot of 8s. Or it might be that at the age of 8, this is what happened. Or it could just mean for some of you that this is in the family home. But, you know, I'm getting a lot of 8s. So, family, you know, 8's also the infinity symbol. So, feeling trapped. Which is why we have this in reverse, because we've got trapped in fear in reverse. Okay, 8 is the infinity symbol. You know, it's all about never ending. I was going to say the circle of life, but it's not the circle of life, is it? It's like, you know, infinity. So, never ending, feeling trapped in fear, like you can't get out of a situation. I do feel for a lot of you that you've actually moved out of home now. You have moved out, a lot of you, but because you're coming out of this trapped in fear. So you are no longer trapped in that fear. But you did feel that way, and you felt that way in the family home. Okay, you felt like you lost your light and your hope, that you couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because we've got these cards in reverse. You know, we've also got 1 + 7 = 8. You lost hope at home, like you didn't have that. Yeah, we've got 19. So 1 + 9 = 10. Leadership. You couldn't lead. You couldn't get led into the light, because 1 is all about authority, leadership. You felt like you had no one there to lead you into the light. You had no one there to offer you hope. Okay, we have a lot of yellow on this card. Possibly you wasn't very happy at home, because yellow is a colour of abundance, of happiness. You know, it's also of, you know, one of the chakras, the yellow chakra, the solar plexus chakra, I believe. It could be sacral, but I'm sure it's solar plexus. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, it's all about the life force as well. Creativity being stifled, because we have individuality in reverse. You weren't allowed to be yourself. You weren't allowed to express yourself. A lot of you might actually see birds as well, like unusual birds, as psychic signs, because it is a psychic card as well. We've got the blues and the purples around the head. So it's possibly that you might have been a psychic, and you might have seen a lot of signs as a child, or feathers even, because she's got feathers as earrings. Don't know if you can see that. There is a feather there. Yeah, and that got stifled. You weren't allowed to be who you wanted to be, which was this high priestess of spirit. 7 is a spiritual number. You weren't allowed to be psychic. You weren't allowed to be individualistic. You weren't allowed to release your own spirit, okay? You weren't allowed to speak your own soul's truth. And you weren't allowed to summon this power that was within you. Because this is all about summoning your own power. I mean, we've got a lady here just, you know, igniting her own little flame, her own little energy, and you weren't allowed to summon your own power. Okay, you felt powerless, and this made you feel trapped in fear, and you weren't allowed to be yourself. You weren't allowed to be fruitful. You weren't allowed to be creative. You might have really loved music, or, you know, the psychic world, the spiritual world, and you weren't allowed to express this because you weren't allowed to be individualistic. Okay, they want, you know, you weren't allowed prosperity in this. Again, we've got another number 1. So you weren't allowed to live in your own truth in the material world. You might have wanted to take that door to spirit, look. But that was a struggle, because we've got 3 + 2 = 5. You know, being spiritual, being creative was a struggle in the home. And you really wanted to make a career out of this. Sorry, I'm dropping the cards everywhere. You really wanted to make a career out of this and grow fruits and grow your own tree out of it. And, you know, and lead it by yourself. Again, with the light card, leading it into the light with the number 1, because 1 + 9 = 10 when broken down is 1. But, you know, they didn't give you any hope of that. They were like, no chance. And you couldn't do it. You couldn't lead into that. You couldn't lead to the door of spirit, because they wouldn't let you for some reason. And they wanted you to get material and spiritual prosperity in the family home. But it was more material, because we've got red root chakra, so 3D, corporate, earthly, 3D, material, physical things. Ego, they might have done this out of ego. They might have caused indecision and hostilities in the family home. Again, 2 8s. You wanted to take a spiritual path, but they wanted you to take a more corporate and stable path. Because, you know, the root chakra is all about being logical, practical, down to earth energy. That's what it is. It's the lowest chakra to the earth. Okay, it's not like a crown chakra. It's a chakra where it goes on instinct and ego and survival instincts, money, corporate, you know, being in the system. And you might not have wanted that. You might have wanted to take the action. You might have wanted to take action to the daughter spirit, to get your hope and light back, to get your own prosperity, leading by yourself and doing your own thing and being individualistic and summoning your own power. But you were trapped in fear, and this caused, you know, arguments and indecision because, you know, we've got sword energy here. I know it's not a sword card because it's a different kind of deck, but I do read it as sword energy, so thoughts, communication, so throat chakra energy. That's how I read the hostilities card. So to me, sword energy, when it's in a negative, is about arguments, speaking harsh truths, you know, being a bit sly or being a bit harsh with the tongue, you know, saying horrible things. You might have had arguments about this because you wanted to take a path to individuality and a path that really reflects yourself, and it was very unknown to you at the time. But at the same time, you wasn't allowed to do that. You wanted to take a leap of faith, but you really struggled to go through with that door of spirit. Yeah. Because we've got the girl here wanting, like, torn between 2 paths, and again we've got 2 8s. But I think as an adult, you're no longer trapped in fear, and I feel like that's because a lot of you don't live at home anymore. You don't live with this person anymore. I feel like you have taken the door to spirit, okay, because the door is open on the card. It was a struggle, but it's open. And you did struggle with finances somewhere along the line, or being by yourself, you know, growing fruits of your own labour because of how you was brought up, so you believe that you couldn't ever really get there. But I feel like you did take action, okay, because we have the horse charging. So I feel like you did take action, and you're now on the way to material and spiritual prosperity. So I do see good things that have come out of this. I do see you standing in your high priestess of spirit now on a spiritual path or a spiritual journey. But there's still some parts of you that you are scared to summon, okay? Because we still have individuality and summon in reverse. So there is still some parts of you that need to be expressed. There is still some parts of you where you haven't unleashed your full potential or full power. Because you're still not standing by yourself, okay? We've got 1 in reverse. You're still not standing in your own power. You're still relying on the other person to help you, or another person to help you grow those fruits in that tree. But you don't necessarily need that person, because you can summon your own power and it'll be stable. Because we've got 1 + 3 = 4. 4 is about stability. So it is stable if you did want to do something by yourself. You could actually do it within your own family unit. You might have a family now. And you know, you found that this family is more accepting of it, but you still hold back a lot of your power, because you feel like if you do it by yourself, it might be unstable. You might just feel a little bit fearful because your parents or parent might have told you as a child that, you know, if you do this is unstable. If you do this by yourself, then it's not efficient, and it's not logical, it's not practical, it's not instinctual, it's not a survival, and you just took the leap of faith anyway, but you did it with someone else. You might have got into a business with someone else, but now as an adult, you're scared to take that leap of faith by yourself and doing it on your own because of the things that you were told as a child. So like the beliefs that was instilled within you. Okay, but you are still searching for that light and that hope. Okay. You're still working your way towards leadership and being by yourself, or doing things for yourself by yourself. You still might be a little bit struggling with the beliefs that you have. So you might have felt like you were never good enough because your individuality was suppressed, your summoning your own power was suppressed. Okay, but you are powerful, okay? You are individualistic, you are creative, you are magical, you are majestic, is what I'm getting. So, you know, do see the light, you do have hope, there is hope for this situation. There might have been a lot of arguments and indecision and confusion, but you can take a path to action where you can get material and spiritual prosperity, okay? You don't have to struggle with the daughter spirit. You don't have to be trapped in fear. You can get that prosperity by yourself, but make sure that you're doing things for yourself in your own spirit and your own true nature, okay? You don't have to rely on the opinion of others. You can just do this. You can have hope. You can have light. So yeah, that's your reading if you picked pile 3. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Make sure to like and subscribe, thumbs up, all that stuff. Comment below what you'd like to see next time. I hope this resonated with you. So let me know what you think. And if you do want paid private readings, make sure to look in the description box because all my information is in there, email address and everything. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.